This is TWiT.
So I would say one of my favorite Pixel features in recent years is the now playing functionality. I just think it's really cool that like the phone, like with me not having to do anything, just is constantly like recognizing music that's playing around me. And then they added the history to it. So I might go somewhere and a song plays, and then later I'm like, what was that song? And then I look on my now playing history, and it's like keeping track in real time and, you know, logging it, all the music that's playing around me. So I've just thought that, and it's kind of magical because it's like stored on the device. Anyways, Ambient Music Mod is an app that you can install on a device that is not a Pixel in order to have that functionality. And that's initially it required root. It was first released a year ago. Version 1 was released a year ago, and it required root in order to do this. Now version 2 is out. Root requirement is gone. And I think what's interesting to me about this is, yes, I mean, the feature is really cool. If you don't have a Pixel phone and you want that kind of nearby, music recognition functionality, you can install this now without root, and you can get it and actually more features. It's like the feature set is more than what Google offers. But I appreciate that the developer posted to Medium about the process of making this work on non-Pixel phones, and it kind of sheds some light on the details of how the original now playing feature actually works. I just thought it was interesting. So I'll just kind of read to you what kind of stuck out to me. He wrote that the Pixel's dedicated signal processor, all it's actually doing, all that dedicated signal processor that DSP is doing is recognizing that some music is probably playing. So when we think of this feature, and as I've thought of it, is like, oh, the DSP on the phone is doing something really unique and really powerful to, you know, analyze and blah, blah, blah. No, all it's really doing is like analyzing to recognize, oh, I think that's music and it's probably playing right now. Once it does that, it tells the Android System Intelligence app, and if the user isn't on a phone call at that point or isn't actually playing music on the device itself, so in other words, you know, kind of feeding into its own system, which it wants to avoid doing, then it takes an 8-second recording of what's playing, the music that's playing, and then it runs that through the track recognition system. And this is what's actually stored on the device. It's that 250 megabyte file, which blows my mind that it can contain 53,000 tracks of fingerprint data in order to identify. And that's as of June 2022, 53,000 tracks, 250 megabyte file stored on your phone if you have a Pixel. And different countries have different databases. So, you know, what's popular in the US might be different than what's popular in another country. So different phones, you know, have different songs inside of that database. I just thought that was kind of cool to get some clearer understanding as far as how that all works. It's pretty neat. And
it's pretty cool.
And pretty cool that, you know, the developer has figured out how to bring this to other phones as well. So
I really like the technical detail that it goes into, especially since there is a dedicated digital signal processor just for the recognition part.
Yeah.
And that's to save battery. And I love that idea because it kind of reminds me back of when I used to be a computer engineer and do hardware stuff, about how like hyper optimized circuits like this can be very efficient because it does one thing and it does it really well.
Yeah.
And so it's able to, like, you know, and like the idea of like, yeah, like if you had to write an app that just worked kind of like on the regular like CPU of the phone that just knew to listen, it like that amount of like polling and analysis of data is just like so complicated, along with like the other general purpose stuff that a CPU has to do.
Yeah.
That it kind of makes sense that wouldn't be very efficient. And then like this is like, what is this feature, right? It's like telling you that music is playing. It's not necessarily like a fundamental like feature of a phone, but they've actually made a digital signal processor, a dedicated digital signal processor for this, and I think that's so good. It's a feature that's so delightful and that people have found so like like people just use it so much that they've dedicated hardware to this, and I absolutely love that this feature is so important that they created a DSP for it, and yeah, like the details are really fun that there's like two parts of it, and that, you know, like the actual like sound matching or pattern matching of the music is one thing, but that actually just being able to tell music is playing is Yeah, it's a hard challenge. It's really cool. It's a really geeky but very, very fun article. So,
and I think, sorry, Ron.
I was gonna say, I don't see how anybody that isn't remotely interested in either music or technology or the cross section of the both isn't completely fascinated by this.
By how this works. Yeah.
It's
pretty
this
impressive.
is such a wonderful find, Jason. I'm delighted by this.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Yeah. And he goes on, he sheds some light on the fact that the detection, like we've talked about, doesn't really need that special pixel DSP, but right, because as we've said, that DSP is really just recognizing that some music is playing, right? And so it's keeping battery usage and CPU usage low as a result of that. And then it does the processing to kind of, fingerprint the music and does that all on device. All that stuff can happen on any phone. He's figured out a way to do this, so that this works on all phones. It does take a little bit longer because it's pulling on a different kind of, I don't know, frequency or repetition is a little bit longer between, checking if there's music playing or not or whatever. But he did show, he did a lot of tests, according to his Medium article, showed that very minimal battery was used for the feature. But it was hard for him to get an exact count on the battery usage because the app that it's tied into, this Android app that I mentioned earlier, what was it? The Android System Intelligence app is an app that you can't track battery usage on, from my understanding. So, but anyways, so your mileage may vary, but it's cool that he did this. And actually, I should give him credit by name instead of keeping referring to him as the guy who wrote this. Kieran Quinn is the developer of the app, and I just think it's really neat. It's a cool feature on Pixel phones. It's a feature that I love and continue to use and continue to respect. And the fact that anybody can get it now, go for it. Check it out for yourself.
Awesome.
It's worth installing and checking out.